Hey everyone, this is Chromes, and this here is a problem. uh, yep. So I'm here in my 1.16 testing world. I updated my old one to 1.17 already, and I don't like switching between versions, so I'm just kind of stuck here. And what I'm working on here is a new design for my nether transportation system. So I have an old one that used quartz and glass. It was pretty simple, pretty basic, and there are a couple reasons I'm not too happy with it, and ultimately I just wanted to make a new one, especially since I've done a bit more with the game, learned a bit more how it works, and I can figure out how to put together resources and take on large projects. So this is this is my new design for the transportation system. It looks a bit, I think it's really different, interesting in some ways. I think I'm actually happy with it. I think it'll look cool in the nether as well. So this is a basic cross section with a couple different features I wanted. Obviously, boats on ice and rail to send minecarts around. I'm working on actually I worked out a new minecart system. I had an old one that I previously designed. I made a tutorial about. I'm gonna make a new tutorial. This is a much more compact version. This is still a full feature set. And this over here is a compact version with less features, but this is more than enough. So this is what I'm actually going to use in my own survival world. I can fit it, the more compact version, in a much smaller area as well. So I'm going to make some stations using that to send large amounts of item around. I currently have one built up between my nether fortress farm and my main storage, and it's larger than I need, but it's been nice to have, so I'm going to expand. So I'm going to add that. It's going to be a little smaller, only 6 chest minecarts and 1 for the player. You can switch them out, move mobs around as well. And I'm going to build a few stations at a couple different perimeters and main storage, probably one at spawn. So in addition to the ice boat pathway and rails on top, which also has the benefit of keeping it spawn proof, I want to have soul sand walkway. So you can have this next to it. So you can ride a boat, use rail, use soul sand. And on this side you have room to either fly, because it's 3.5 blocks tall. 3 blocks makes it easy to find space to fly. And this of course is just naturally spawn proof. But it also gives room for horses to run through. So I've had a perimeter I made up for a passive mob farm for a pretty long time now. And previously I went through and sorted out a whole bunch of horses and donkeys, and then sorted through all the horses to find some fast ones. So I have a whole bunch of, well, at least I have a decent number of horses. I can run like 12, 13 blocks a second, and that can jump still like 3.5 blocks high. So I have a bunch of decent horses. So by building it into my infrastructure, I figure I'm more likely to actually get around to using them. I'll need to design the setup not just for the minecart stations, but also then one for like a stable to keep horses at. When I need to relocate them, I can just use the minecart system to move them around as needed. And I can just take the good ones I have and breed them up to produce like a decent stock of pretty good horses. And this here is a junction system. It would have been nicer just to have this extend in a straight line, but ultimately how to set up the junction for the rail is going to be a problem if you don't do something like this. So I'm going to try to limit the number of junctions I have. So you limit how many times you have to switch over if you're riding a boat. And in my current setup, I have packed ice every other block. I think I only need like 2.5 shulkers of blue ice, and I already have 1, and I have enough ice that I can craft another 1.5, no problem. It still feels bad, but it's, you know, it's a flex, and I can afford it. so I'm gonna do it. So since my current plan calls for about 4,300 blocks long of this, and I'm using this particular material here, that means ultimately I'll need something like 40 to 50 shulker boxes of Nether Wart, which I've never produced in anything close to that amount. So while this is an interesting design, kind of looks cool, I think it'll fit in well with the nether, and I'm pretty happy about it. Choosing to use red nether brick created a new problem, so I'll go ahead and take a look in survival real quick, show some things that I had previously. So back that way is my double witch up perimeter, and up here is another side of my main storage. Here's the minecart station I currently have. All the All the minecarts, I guess, are currently over at my Nether Fortress farm. And you come through this portal here to get to my bulk storage area in my main storage. So over here, it's a little rough because I never bothered cleaning it up. But this is the input for my piglin bartering setup. And for red nether brick, you need 2 nether wart and 2 nether brick each. So I'll hop down here, down the well. Oh. And this is the piglin bartering setup. So among other things, you get a lot of just the basic nether brick from these guys. You can also smelt netherrack to get them. And there's like 15 in each cell for a total of 60. So it has a decent speed. And yeah, then the brick comes down to here. And I'll just take it back up to my main storage. So I can get a decent amount of nether brick out of this, which leaves the problem of nether wart. And I only built a small nether wart farm previously, so we'll go take a look at that real quick as well. This is the first jungle I came across in this world, and it's a good distance out. Well, it's only like 2,500, 1,800 out from spawn. But I liked it and wanted to set up my potion brewing area here. So I also made a couple other farms in the area and intend to make another. So this is a little phantom farm. So I have potions so you can get slow falling potions. I collected a bunch of birds I found down here. Is that a pillager? What? Okay. Alright. Nice. Anyway, the reason... They're just hanging out all over the place. Alright, anyway. Yeah, the reason we came here is for this, the old nether wart farm. Now for potions, you need a decent bit, but it's not an insane amount. For the basic design is that you sit in a minecart up here, and every once in a long while, it'll kick you off. It'll just go down. It dispenses water out of the center here, and it closes all these trapdoors to keep the stuff from flying out. And it pushes all the nether wart down to the ends. So when you come through on a minecart, you can pick up nether wart to fill your hand. And anything you don't pick up, this will activate this trapdoor. It'll drop them into the water stream, collect them. I'll just go through, replant. Again, refill your hand down here, and then drop the rest in the water stream. And it just goes back and forth and cycle all the way down. And yeah, so that's it. It's just a repeated thing all the way down here. There's so few spaces, and it's like it only lets you go every once in a long while because it has to run. But there are 48 items, so it has to run 48 times to give the nether wart time to grow. So that's a really long time. And since they take so long, and there's relatively few places for them to go in here, this takes forever. It's like what, like a few stacks every hour? It's not even like, yeah, it's pretty rough. So it's more than enough to get for the potions I need, but it's nothing if I need 40 to 50 shulker boxes full of the stuff in order to build a new nether system. I feel a little bad about not extending it up at least one more layer. I will complete this though, but ultimately this gives you, just with these two here, it gives you more than a full shulker per hour, like every half hour. So every cycle it'll give you already more than a full shulker box. So I only need to run this for like 24 hours, to get about 50 shulker boxes of materials, which is all I need. So, yeah. So if I completed the full 2 layers, it could take me up about as much time as running just this once. So it really is not worth the effort ultimately, which makes me a little sad, but also happy. I don't have to build as much of this as I expected to. So I'm not quite sure exactly what happened here because I was AFK, but I do have a mob switch on, and yeah, this is why I think I usually don't build out of wood or any other material that can burn. I assume this got hit by lightning and burned up, burned a little hole in my thing. So I fell through, and so at this point it's not really fully safely AFKable because the whole thing can catch on fire and burn up. Additionally, I have problems with wandering traders can spawn all over the place, and the llamas can fall down and stop the player. And then you can also have pillagers, and currently phantoms because it's open to the sky, and pillagers though, they'll all run down here to where the player is, they'll all fall in this hole, and you end up with a whole bunch of pillagers just hanging out, running around down here. So I don't know what I'm going to do. I may just flood this area down here and set up fences all the way around the border to keep all that kind of stuff out. I'll still need to spawn-proof the top to prevent wandering traders as well from spawning in up here, because I've seen them running around. I've killed a couple of them off. And obviously I just need to cover up everything above the player so phantoms don't mess with you as well. These are the first tests. Just running with the 2 sections. Let's get that many the first time, this the second time, and this the third time. So I don't know, it is a bit random exactly what you'll end up with, because it's based on how much things grow, and I'm running it a little too quickly. So I could delay the time it takes between when the player cycles through. I think when I add the 3rd section, it takes 18 minutes now. It's another 9 minutes. 4, basic math, 27 minutes. So I may leave the timer as is to extend it up past 34 minutes. So that way more than half of them should have grown completely by then, and probably just leave it at that. I don't know exactly, and you could optimize it further, but it's already fine as is, more than enough. If you get this every 30 minutes, again, I'll have everything I need. If I can run it without lightning or other things getting in the way. Alright, I've only had this it's like a day and a half. I haven't been running it the whole time. I got a Nether Wart here, and yeah, I've already got a few shulkers of red nether bricks. I just need to bring more nether brick over from my the bulk storage at my main storage, and run this for another, I don't know, another 20 hours or so, and I'll be done. So that's going to be it for this episode. Oh. Get out of here, chicken. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with how it's turned out so far. Obviously, it's more than enough for what I need. And yeah, hopefully someone out there finds this interesting, maybe even useful, if you want to mess around with some of the stuff yourself. It's really very simple modular design. Again, that's generally what I go for. It's not the really complex, difficult stuff, just something pretty simple you can expand and make some pretty large scale projects work based on it. So I hope y'all enjoyed, and y'all take care. Cheers. So that's the end of the video. Basically, I figured I'd just I got a bunch of other stuff I thought was interesting, but I don't know how many other people are going to find it that interesting. So I just went ahead and added some additional stuff on. So I'm going to get into the design process in creative, just going over how I came up with this design, what I was looking at, working with some additional farms that I don't think I've shown before that are out by the potion brewing setup, and then also go over a couple clocks. There's one here and then one at the old Nether Wart farm, and they're a different design. I'm sure people have come up with plenty better ways of doing the exact same thing, but I just thought it was kind of interesting, so I included them as well. So feel free to skip ahead to whatever section you'd like, or to move on with your time. So back here in my creative world, I started messing around with it. I wasn't necessarily thinking about just like tiling it more and more and more and more, making it longer. But I figured there'd have to be obviously better ways of doing it. So I was thinking about extending or increasing the number of blocks, and then maybe using like pistons, moving stuff to break it, but then figured I could still just use dispensers. I think it could potentially work at 4 blocks. It was just a little too slow, I think, for the default block placing rate or something. And I don't know if you really gain anything much by doing 4 blocks deep instead of 3. If you do it 4 blocks deep, then you can't have it as wide. So you're playing around with the size of the rectangle. So it'd be like what, 3 by 11 or 4 by 9, I think, and so that's what, 33 or 36 blocks. So it's not that much of a difference either way. So ultimately, I decided on a 3 by 11 design. With I thought this roof looked kind of cool. I actually messed it up a little on the final build because of how I placed the redstone, but it almost looks like this. Anyway, yes, so there's still just a dispenser, drops water in the back. It pushes everything to the player. It'll drop down here mostly. There are a few occasional things that get left just in the very corners on the soul sand, so they won't get picked up. So there's a little bit of loss. If you run a pulse extender a little longer to leave the water out, that would take care of it. So maybe eventually I'll fix it, but it's not that much. And instead of just having single sections, I extended it 2 of these wide, and that seems to work. It's the player ends up moving a little bit slow. So if you want to use this kind of modular setup, coming down off this to get the player enough speed, you end up going really slow by the second one. So I'd only do it like sections of 1 of this each, and then get up a little bit more speed to go on to the next section. I figured it seems pretty easy to send the signal on from one line to the next just by running over the detector rail. A sticky piston pushes the observer out. It sends a signal up across the top to the pulse extender that then drops the water out on the next one, and then it'll pick it up. So by the time you get around to the next section, it'll already be cleared out, ready to plant. And for item collection, since everything gets pushed down onto the same track as the player, I just have it so every other line, when the player goes over the detector rail, it has to be a solid block below it, and that'll power this unpowered rail here down below the hopper minecart. It'll send it around, and then come back and it'll stop here, and then drop everything in the dropper, spit out in the water stream, and you're good. And you actually do need, like, maximally, this will give you, the way I have it set up, it'll give me like anywhere from like 2.5 to 4.5 stacks if it's completely maxed out. So you can't really, I was playing around with ideas about setting up so the hoppers will go on to the next set and the next set and the next set and kind of follow the player. But to set up easily, I just set up 1 hopper minecart every other time, and I think that's good enough for me. And this mess here is a mushroom farm. It's very similar to Ilmango's design. I never completed it. It was based on the mushroom spawning that I got from one of his videos. So you have just mushrooms in the center. You have spawning platforms out on either side. Water pushes them down, collects them at the bottom, and I only needed some for the fermented spider eye, but never really had much use for them other than that. And yeah, it goes down pretty close to bedrock, not all the way to bedrock. I just never completed it because I didn't need much. And this little thing over here is rabbit farm. So for this to work, the player sits in minecart here, looks in this direction, and then they get dispensed or get dropped out a bunch of carrots. As you go off in the minecart down through here, you'll activate the spring, which opens up or it drops water out and makes the rabbits jump around here so you can feed them as you go over until you fall off, come back up here, and go around that way. And the baby rabbits are small enough that they'll fall through down into the... Oh. Okay, now we're good. So baby rabbits fall through here into this water stream. And then there's a clock for like every 5 minutes, I think. So every 5 minutes, It cycles through so you can breed up the new set of rabbits, and it'll open up the set of trapdoors to let the baby rabbits go into the next one, and the next one, and the next one. So by the time you have 4 or 5 minute cycles, the rabbits will... Oh, that's not good. I hope it was there. That looks right. Right, so by the time you get the full 4 or 5 minute cycles, the baby rabbits will have actually grown up into adults in 20 minutes. And we'll leave them all in here so you can come down and harvest them. I don't think I have much here at the moment. Yeah, I think I took some out recently. But yeah, I was using this to get rabbit's feet for the potion. Yes, there's a 1 stack and a basic hopper clock here. And then this, every time the hopper clock runs through once, it'll take an item over to here, and once this one's empty, it'll actually it'll pump the items up to here. They go over to here, that's locked, and then it'll send off a signal and let the items flow back into this again for another set. So it's a way of extending a hopper clock to a much greater time. Given how long it takes Nether Wart to grow, I need some sort of clock, again like the one at my potion setup, where it can go for a pretty long time. Ultimately, this cycle running through 2 takes about 18 minutes, and I wanted to get up to at least half an hour, something like 34, 35 minutes on average that it takes for Nether Wart to grow. So that means maybe 50% of them will have grown fully by then. So obviously it's better if it takes longer, but I wanted at least like 30 minutes. So for that, that's is it 18 minute? No, for 12 minutes it's 1,800 items through a hopper. So that's about 28 stacks. It's almost a chest. So I just went with a chest. Figured that was close enough for now. So the way this works is you have a chest with a number of items in it, and they'll flow out through time. They get pumped up drop revader, and then put in this chest here. And while it's running, this block gets pushed to here. While there's anything in this chest, this gets powered. So while the player's sitting in the minecart down there, in between runs, it'll depower this block, which has a redstone torch attached to it, which allows items to flow out of here. And so it'll start the clock. And while the player is running through the system, it'll allow items to flow from here down into here. And since the player is not sitting in the minecart here, this torch will again be powered to keep items from flowing out here. Cool. This not really is the end. Yeah, let me know what you think. I don't know if it's a good idea to split off all those extra things like that or not. It seems like it would disrupt the flow of the video, kind of get in the way, but I thought they're kind of interesting, kind of cool. I still want to show them, but I don't want the videos to run on for too long, especially the clocks. I don't think most people would enjoy that. That kind of just drags on way too long. But yeah, let me know if you think it's a good idea to keep like any additional miscellaneous things at the end of a video, or if you think it would work better to even actually just include them in the main video. At any rate, that's all for now. Y'all take care. Cheers.